The width of these two chains is what they're cutting going down through the piece of wood. The width right there is exactly the same, 149.5. The fierce battle between Husbandry and Stihl to constantly put out a better product. In the end, it pays off for each of us as an end user consumer. All right, so neither one of these saws have been cranked this morning. They have been in my shop, though. We're gonna run them 261 and the 550 there. Get my earplugs in. So there they are. Coat pockets are full of sawdust. Alright, this is the 261 that I got sitting right here. This is an Oregon LPX chain. 325 pitch. The drivers on it are 63 gauge. Right there's the driver. Can you see the numbers on it? So now we're going to catch the top plate on that. This is the same chain, other than the driver right there being a 50 gauge. Let me clean it off. Let me get on this one where you can see it. You can see it at the top of the camera right there. Let me get on this one. This is the Stihl chain. That's the driver. This is the Husbandry. So the width of these two chains is what they're cutting going down through the piece of wood. The width right there is exactly the same when it's going down through the wood, piece of wood. I'll show you something else here. We're going to measure it rivet to rivet. Here. Let me get on this one where you can see. I'm going to look at the camera. 2, 2. So can you see it right there? We're at 217. That's only 261. Now let me get over here on this one on front so nobody think I'm doing something crazy. That's it right there. It's the same width. Let's do this. We'll check the top plate on it too. $149.5. $149.5. So as soon as I stirred up a hornet's nest today on it, these are both Oregon chains, LPX chains. They're both 325 pitch. The only difference between these two chains is the thickness of the driver that goes into the rail right there. Other than that, the kerf, what it cuts going down through the wood, is the same width. And the reason Stihl did that is because it's simply this right here. They want you to go back to the dealer, say you're out cutting, and something happens, you hit a piece of steel, you ruin a chain. You're not going to go to Lowe's, you're not going to go to Home Depot, you're not going to go to Tractor Supply, you're not going to go to any of those places and find a 20-inch 63 gauge chain on the weekends to throw back on your saw and keep going. You can order these chains right here from several different suppliers, but they got it fixed like that to where you need to go back to the dealer to buy it directly from them at the dealer. Whereas you can go around, you might have to go to check at Lowe's, Home Depot, several building supply places. But one of them is going to have a 50 gauge, 20 inch, 325 chain right there. But that 63 gauge is a very odd size on a saw, on a 50cc saw like that. Husbandry has not had any part in this right here. I've been accused of that by probably about 3 people between the 2 videos, I guess, or so, or about 3. And they hadn't had no part of this. I went out on my own. I spent roughly about $3,000 on 3 saws. The 500 was $1,550, and that was a saw plus tax. And then the 362 was $700 and something, and then this one right here, if they wouldn't have screwed up on it when it got ordered, I would have had to end up having to pay, $600 and something plus tax. So I've got basically $3,000 in 3 chainsaws there that I bought. I bought them to put the videos out. There's one more thing that I want to do with both of these saws. I'm going to take the chain off of both of them. I'm going to set the camera over on the other side of the table. Snatch the chain off. We're going to weigh both of these chains. There's probably going to be just a tad bit of difference with the Stihl. The Stihl on this 20-inch bar is 81 drive links, and on the Husqvarna is 80 drive links on it. So the Stihl should weigh just a tad more. I mean, just a little bit. But we're going to pull them off and see what they end up weighing out at. Chain just stuck me. Okay, here's the Stihl right here. Oh, Husqvarna, I've not touched it yet. They come up, and I'm gonna bring the camera in here, don't worry. .3 ounces. All right, I'm gonna pull, let's set this chain right here. We're gonna pull the one off the Husqvarna. So right there's Stihl chain. Here's Husqvarna. Stihl zeroed. Let's see. 10.7 ounces. 10.7. I like to do it 2 or 3 times to. So this is the Husqvarna on the left, and the Stihl is on the right there. Just give you a close up of them both. All right, so I got these specs right here too. I'm gonna read these to you right quick between the two saws. The 261 Stihl holds 16.9 ounces of fuel compared to the Husqvarna holding 17.6 ounces of fuel. The Stihl holds 9.13 ounces of oil, and the Husqvarna holds 9.12 ounces of oil. Now this is the interesting fact right here, and I'm fixing to explain something to y'all here too. So the Stihl is rated at 4.0 BHP. BHP stands for brake horsepower. Brake, B-R-A-K-E, brake horsepower. The Husqvarna is rated at 3.75 horsepower. So what's the difference between BHP and regular horsepower? If you look at those specs right there, it looks like the Stihl is the better choice because it's got 4.0. The Husqvarna has 3.75. So here's the difference. Brake horsepower is figured without a flywheel and without a clutch. Let me say that again. It's figured without a flywheel, without a clutch. That 3.75 horsepower on the Husqvarna is figured with a flywheel and with a clutch. What Husqvarna should do is they should rate it both ways. They should rate the saws not only just horsepower, but they should rate them BHP then, to where it would have that number to go back against the Stihl stuff to see that. It's always good to do your research before you spend your hard-earned money. And so what I do with these videos right here, it puts it out there to where you can make up your mind, and you can either pick, you can go, spend your money on the Stihl or spend your money on the Husqvarna. So both good saws. Not knocking either one of them at all. The cool thing about the whole deal is the fierce battle between Husqvarna and Stihl to constantly put out a better product. In the end, it pays off for each of us as an end user consumer. If other companies did the same thing, think about how cool things would be. I want to point this out. I talked about in the previous video the inboard versus outboard clutch. This is an inboard clutch. You can see it right here. That's it. This is an outboard clutch. And just pushes that on the outboard. It pushes the bar and chain closer to the center mass of the saw where you don't feel it as much. The big difference between the Husqvarna and the Stihl aluminum handles. All this is plastic on the Stihls right there. The advantages, disadvantages between the inboard, outboard clutch. Obviously having it closer to the center mass, you don't feel the centrifugal force as bad. One disadvantage of it, changing the sprockets. All you do on this one here is pop the circlip off, slide it off. This one here, you got to pull the clutch off. I can do one of these as fast as you can do one of them. I can probably actually do one of these faster because I've done them a lot of times. And all you do, they got left-handed threads on them. You just take I have a bearing race driver, and I just stick it right there in that groove. And it's not about how hard you hit it, it's about how quick you hit it. So, and I don't even use a piston stop or anything. Just one quick rasp on that, joker spins right off, pull it off, throw another rim sprocket on there, just throw it on, spin it back on, just bump it, and she's good to go. You just, like I said, you take the circlip off of this one, pull that washer off, sprocket comes off, put it back on, and put the washer back on it, and do that. Now, there was several things said in the comments about the saws, this one being more broken than the other. I don't know how much broken in more you got to do. I got this saw right here the first week of January of this year, and we're toward the end of February right now. Now, granted, that saw's finna be 2 years old, but man, that saw all the boring stations that I got out there. Not only that, but all the boring stations out there, I ripped with that saw right there. I did the cutting and just tons and tons of other cutting with it. Plus, it's been through 2 saw classes. This saw right here got the hair run off of it in this last saw class last weekend. Some people say, 20 tanks of gas. I mean, my goodness, how many tanks of gas you got to run through one to get it broke in? In the owner's manual on them, they say, run them. Just don't hold them wide open outside the kerf. But the main gist of this video was to show that the kerf on these 2 chains are the same. Neither one of these 2 chains, other than this one being a 63 gauge on the drive links, both of them cut the same with kerf. Now I run them again out there. If you're looking for power or for flat out running, the Husqvarna is going to outrun the 261 right there. I mean, you can see it cut after cut. And I'm pushing that Stihl as hard as I could push it without just loading it completely up and bogging it down right there. The one drawback with the Husbandry is if you do a Google search for the number of Stihl dealers in the United States, you're going to find that Stihl has between 9,000 and 10,000 dealers in the United States. If you do that same search for Husqvarna, you're going to find out that they've got 3,500 in the United States. So most all your ag dealers, John Deere ag dealers especially, are also Stihl dealers. And you got a lot more Stihl dealers across the country than you do Husqvarna. A lot of people, I see it all the time in the comments, get a lot of messages. me trying to help people locate saws and find saws. They don't have a Husqvarna dealer around. That's the case in where I live here. My closest Husqvarna dealer is 50 miles away, and that's Northport Power Equipment over there. And right around behind them is a Stihl dealer. Matter of fact, the Stihl dealer where I got the 500 and the 362 over there. My feelings on the Stihl, all I want to do is show what they run and point out the different points about them. And I don't put the videos out to battle people in the comments. I'm not going to. But again, there wasn't a quote narrow kerf chain on this saw right here when I was running it. The chains are cut in the same exact kerf between them. You can see that when I put the caliper on them right there when I did that. So I felt it was pretty important to go back and put this, do a follow-up video on this right here and do it. The only other thing I could do is I could take and buy a 50 gauge bar on there to where I could put the exact 50 gauge chain on it, which is the drive links on there on the bottom like what I showed. But I'm not going to do that. The Husqvarna is still going to outrun it. Just the saw runs so much more speed than the Stihl does. I mean, I'm wide open on the Stihl. I mean, that's all she's got. That is all she's got. So it's fun to see the stuff in the comments down there. Don't get too bent out of shape though, because it's just chainsaws, for God's sakes. Both of them are good saws, but man, I'm gonna tell you, you take vehicles, Ford, Dodge, Chevrolet, all them, college football, politics, religion, chainsaws. Dude, man, there's some people that really get up in a tizzy over that stuff. At the end of the day, they're both great saws. They're both great saws. My hat's off to both of them. So appreciate everybody viewing. We'll catch y'all later. Later, taters.